tender venison backstrap steak, breaded and fried to golden perfection, creamy seasoned country-style gravy, and homemade mashed redskin potatoes, all coming together to make an absolutely perfect chicken fried venison steak dinner. Chicken fried steak is one of those southern comfort foods that I don't eat often because, well, it's not especially good for you, and in the north, you can't really find it everywhere. So most of the time, if I'm having it, I'm making it myself. And while normally you'd use something like round steak or cubed round steak, venison backstrap works exceptionally well for this recipe. So in this video, that's exactly what I'm making. We're taking a backstrap from a deer that I butchered and processed just a few weeks ago. We're breading it in basically the same fashion that one would do a southern fried chicken. Then we're making a traditional, beautiful country-style gravy. And we're gonna do a little redskin mashed potatoes, maybe some green beans, and plate it all up into the most wonderful meal that I could ever hope for on a frigid January day like today. This is the backstrap steak I'll be using, and there isn't a whole lot I need to do to get it ready. I'll just go ahead and trim off the couple little spots of fat and silver skin that I missed when I first packaged up the meat from this deer. Next, I'm going to give it a quick once over with my meat mallet. I'm not really trying to tenderize or especially flatten out my steak. I mainly want to make sure it's an even thickness throughout. This steak came from the end of a backstrap, so it tapers a bit on one side. So I'll pound it out just a little until it's all a pretty even thickness. And now here's where the real tenderization comes in. You really want the meat inside of a country fried and breaded steak to be quite tender. And when it comes to tenderizing without pounding the daylights out of it with a hammer, there's really no better tool than one of these Jaccard tenderizers. This thing has a bunch of tiny spring-loaded blades that pierce into the meat each time I give it a whack. I'll do this a bunch of times on each side, and my steak will remain basically the same size and thickness, but will now have a softer and more chewable texture. Next up is some quick seasoning. I'll give it a somewhat generous seasoning with some kosher salt on all sides, followed by some black pepper. And I'll let it sit out for a few minutes to start soaking up that seasoning while I get the next step ready. We're going to be soaking this steak in a mixture of milk and eggs. This is going to further tenderize the meat and will also serve as the quote wet part of the breading process later on. So I'll crack 2 eggs into this large bowl and give them a quick preliminary beating. Then I'm adding in about 2 cups of whole milk. I'll mention that buttermilk is also very popular to use for this, if that's your sort of thing. Me, I generally prefer regular milk to buttermilk for most things. Now I'll get that egg and milk mixture blended very thoroughly together, and then I'm just dropping in that venison, making sure to submerge it completely. I'll cover the bowl with some plastic wrap and stick the whole thing in the fridge for anywhere between 4 and 12 hours. For this particular steak, I ended up going only 4 hours because I want to get this video finished today. In the meantime, I'll get my mashed potatoes going. Any sort of potato side dish would work great with this meal, but my favorite is probably some good old mashed redskins, and it's a pretty simple recipe. I'll get around 2 pounds of redskin potatoes washed and chopped up into some relatively even-sized chunks. No need to peel them, just cut them up and drop them into a pan of water as you go. Now I'll get that pan on the stove over high heat and add in a big pinch of kosher salt. Once it's up to boiling, I'll adjust the heat to keep it at a low and steady boil, and I'll just let that go until the potatoes are nice and fork tender. At that time, I'll strain the potatoes in a colander and then return them to the hot pan for a couple minutes just to let any remaining water cook off. Now to add a few more ingredients. A couple tablespoons of butter, a big pinch of kosher salt, and a pinch of black pepper. Optionally, a couple teaspoons of minced garlic, and finally, some half and half. For this part, I tend to go by feel until the potatoes seem just right. I'll start with a small amount of half and half, maybe around 1/8 of a cup. Then I'll go at it with the potato masher and see how it feels. I'll add about another 1/8 of a cup to this batch. And now that's feeling pretty much just right. And of course, give it a taste and adjust the seasoning as needed. This is tasting good to me, so I'll put a lid on this pan and set it aside until I'm ready to serve it. And since it's now been just over 4 hours, it's time to finish making our country-fried venison steak. I've already got the wet part of my breading station in the form of that egg and milk mixture, so now I need my dry. Into a bowl, I'll put about 2 cups of all-purpose flour, followed by 1 teaspoon of kosher salt, 1 teaspoon black pepper, 1 teaspoon paprika, a half teaspoon onion powder, and a half teaspoon garlic powder. Mix that all together until the seasonings are thoroughly incorporated into the flour, and now we're almost ready to start breading. But first, I need to get my oil heating up, so into my very deep cast iron skillet goes about 1 inch's worth of vegetable oil. Canola oil works well too. I'll turn the burner on medium-high and let this heat up to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, time for the breading station. I'll pull that steak out of the milk-egg mixture and let the excess drain off for a few seconds. Then into the seasoned flour, and I'll make sure to get it completely coated on all sides. Don't be afraid to lightly press that flour into the steak to be sure it sticks. Then I'll lightly shake off any loose flour, and then it's going back into the milk mixture. Once again, I'll let any excess liquid drain off, and back into the flour one more time. This doubled up wet dry technique is going to give us a really marvelous, crusty, crispy breading when we fry it. This is basically the same way I do my fried chicken, and I can't recommend it enough. And when that oil is up to temperature, very carefully lay in that steak. And when I say carefully, I mean more carefully than what I just did here. I sure didn't intend to splash hot oil all over my stove like that, but I definitely seem to have a talent for making a huge mess when it comes to frying things in oil. Anyway, let that steak fry away for a few minutes, and if you don't have quite enough oil to fully cover the steak, feel free to gently splash some over the top with a spoon, just to help get that crust formed as quickly as possible. And when it seems like it's about halfway cooked, I'll turn that steak over and let it cook the rest of the way. I'm pretty much going by color at this point, and I want that breading to reach a beautiful golden brown before pulling it out. Okay, the frying is done, and this thing is looking incredible. So I'll move it over to a small tray and pop it into the warm oven for a few minutes, because we still have to make the gravy, and I don't want my steak getting cold. The gravy is super simple, but we need this skillet and some of this oil in order to make it. First, I'll pour out all of this oil into a heat-proof receptacle of some type. Then I'll return a 1/4 cup of the oil back to the pan and set the burner to medium heat. Now I'll sprinkle in my flour. For 1/4 cup of oil, you'll need about 1/4 cup of flour. Then immediately start whisking that flour into the oil. What you want is a sort of a semi-thick paste, because we're making a roux. My roux was a little on the thin side here, so I ended up sprinkling in a little more flour. That's looking about right, so now I'm just going to let my roux cook for a full minute, at which time I'll begin adding in my whole milk. I'll just splash in a little at a time, whisking pretty much constantly. If we pour too much milk in all at once, we'll risk getting a clumpy gravy. So I'll go a little at a time, basically until I've got the consistency I'm looking for. For this gravy right here, I ended up using about 3 cups of milk. Now it is seasoned. You guessed it, a pinch of kosher salt, and a pinch of black pepper. Get it all stirred in, and I'm ready to taste. Absolutely delicious, though I think it could use just a little more seasoning. So, another pinch of salt and another pinch of pepper. And now, perfect. Which means it's finally time to plate up this feast. First, my crispy golden brown piece of fried venison, followed by a nice helping of those mashed redskins, and of course, top all of it with a generous amount of that country-style gravy. And what the heck, let's get some sauteed green beans in there, because that spot on the plate looked lonely, and some green will make my thumbnail photo even prettier. Now I'm finally ready to dig into this big plate of happiness that would make even the most southern of grandmas proud. Absolutely delicious. On all counts, those are exactly the flavors I'm looking for out of a country fried steak and that country style gravy. The breading, perfect. It tastes reminiscent of Kentucky Fried Chicken. The steak was pretty well cooked all the way through, but still incredibly tender because of the tenderization and the soaking and just the cooking method. Regarding the gravy, I couldn't be happier with how it came out. Now I know that some people use a sausage gravy or similar breakfast-style country gravy to put over top of their country-fried steak. In fact, I'm pretty sure I remember even seeing the cowboy Kent Rollins using bacon fat to create his country gravy for his chicken fried steaks. And it's certainly going to taste great, but to me, that flavor profile is more breakfast food. And if you're making country fried steaks for breakfast, maybe that makes more sense. But using some of that cooking oil from the deep frying as the fat for my gravy, as well as that seasoned flour from the breading step, really gives it that classic country style chicken fried meal sort of flavor that I'm after. The potatoes, how can you go wrong? Some Redskins mashed up with some butter, cream, some garlic, salt, pepper. Of course it's going to be delicious. And just to, I guess, try to keep my cardiologist from weeping tears of sorrow if he ever sees this video, throwing some green beans to round out the whole plate. All in all, couldn't ask for a better, more filling, more comforting meal than this plate of food right here. Anyway, if you want to see my full written out recipe for the breading and the gravy and everything that went into making this country fried venison steak, I'll put a link in the video description below. And be sure to like and subscribe and stay up to date with all our latest stuff, including future venison and wild game cooking videos. And consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/Great Lakes Country. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'm John, and this is Great Lakes Country.